You are at a cozy little Italian trattoria. You just ordered a rich ragù pasta dish, your friend got a savory roasted meat dish, and there's a platter of aged cheeses and grilled vegetables on the table next to you. You are tasked with picking a wine from the wine list. A heavy tannic red will clash, but a white wine just isn't enough. So what do? Well, you can order a Barbera, actually. It's the ultimate get-out-of-free-jail card when you're paralyzed by the wine list. It is bright, juicy, incredibly food-friendly, and usually a fantastic value. Hello there, I am Jacqueline, and welcome back to Our Glass of Wine and to yet another quick 5-minute guide where we are going to give you all the essential information on a topic for wine lovers on the run quickly. This time, it's going to be all about Barbera. It's our go-to wine when it comes down to food pairings. But before it became a restaurant staple, Barbera was simply known as vino del popolo, or the people's wine. While the local aristocracy was drinking the prestigious Nebbiolo, Piedmontese farmers were drinking Barbera every single day. It was the rustic workhorse of the area. However, its reputation did take a massive hit in 1986 during a notorious scandal where cheap Barbera was illegally adulterated with methanol, causing serious injuries and even death in a few cases. It was a disaster that put the reputation of Italian wine and Barbera in serious jeopardy. But the Italian wine movement was able to rise from the ashes. The methanol scandal forced a massive quality revolution, and producers had to completely shift focus from quantity-based production to quality-based production. That shift benefited also Barbera, whose reputation is today better than it has ever been, and it has shed its cheap image for instead a world-class status. But that took time and effort, because in the vineyard, this grape is a vigorous, high-yielding powerhouse. Left alone, it will produce a massive crop, which of course is not the ideal recipe for quality. So today, quality-focused winemakers will work to prune the vines well and carefully in order to ensure that the remaining grapes left will get all of the concentrated flavor. Barbera thrives on warm hillsides, but its true superpower is its ability to hold on to a signature bright acidity, even in the hottest of vintages. And that acidity is what defines it once it is poured into your glass. But first, we need to talk about the color of it. When you pour a glass of Barbera, the first thing that you are going to notice is the color. It will be a deep ruby red. It has a lot of anthocyanins, and this causes a deep color. But the appearance can actually trick you because you might expect a heavy, drying, tannic wine. But instead, you're hit with mouth-watering, vibrant acidity and usually lower tannins. But what does a Barbera actually taste like? You can expect explosive red and black fruits. Think sour cherries, raspberries, plums, often a hint of violet if we are going floral. It's a flavor profile that will give winemakers a lot of options to work with. Speaking of which, thanks to that combination of high acid and low tannin, winemakers basically can use two different playbooks while crafting their Barberas. The first is going to be a more traditional style. Fermented in stainless steel or in old cement tanks, the goal here is to get a pure, crunchy, and refreshing fruit. It's incredibly easy to drink. And then we will have a more modern style. In the 80s, pioneer winemakers started putting Barbera into small French oak barrels. And since Barbera naturally lacks tannin, the wood helped to add a little bit of structure along with pretty notes of vanilla, baking spices, and even some chocolate. So where can we find this great variety? Well, you can find Barbera growing beautifully in New World regions like California and Australia, but its historical heartland is universally considered to be northwestern Italy, specifically in Piedmont. Here, there are 3 major denominations that we should be looking for. First will be the Barbera d'Alba DOCG. Produced in the Langhe alongside Barolo and Barbaresco and Nebbiolo, this tends to be a more delicate version of Barbera. Our second will be a Barbera d'Asti DOCG, coming from the warmer hills of nearby Asti for a fuller, riper wine. And lastly, the Nizza DOCG. This is a top-tier classification carved out of the best Asti vineyards, and it requires 100% Barbera and at least 18 months of aging before release. But now, let's bring it on back to the dinner table. As I said earlier, Barbera's high acidity and low tannin combination is a great recipe for a food wine. This bright acidity will easily cut through rich, fatty dishes like braised beef or Piemontese agnolotti, a ravioli pasta. But because the tannins are lower, it doesn't clash with salty or aged cheeses or make vegetables taste kind of metallic. It also is a great barbecue wine. handling the fat of grilled meats perfectly, while also playing incredibly well with tomato-based dishes like pasta sauces or even pizza. So next time you are at a restaurant and you are staring at the wine list full of choice paralysis, just order a Barbera, or maybe a great Nizza DOCG. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you learned something new, please leave a like below and subscribe so you never miss out on our wine education videos. I am going to be leaving you with this video right here, where we talk about Barbera's famous neighbor, Barolo. I'll see you there. Cheers!